Bandura Games, Justin. He will tell us about the story of unusual collaboration, and I think that he can come to the stage. I'm here, and he will tell you about how totally different people from pretty much conflicting worlds are working together and creating games. Welcome!
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and thanks to Casual Connect for having us here. I want to know who's in the audience today. So how many people are from Israel in the audience right now? Raise your hand if you're from Israel. Okay, most people. And how many people, this is their first time in Israel? Alright, so a couple people first time, a couple people from here. For those of you who've lived here your whole lives, or those of you who it's your first time here, it's impossible to escape the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It surrounds this region, and it's the major topic of conversation. And especially in the past few weeks, in a time of relative darkness here, it's been really important to share positive stories, stories of success, stories of cooperation. What's amazing about Bandura Games is that I'm from the United States, I'm an American Jew, and I've co-founded Bandura Games with an Israeli partner and also a Palestinian partner. And our mission with Bandura Games is to use our games to create empathy and to create connections for people of different backgrounds from around the world and from across conflict zones. And so this is an amazing story. I've been traveling Israel for the past few days, telling this story to groups of students and inspiring future entrepreneurs, future game makers to try to recreate or even do better than what we've done. And so I'm going to start with a short little video that tells a little bit about our story, how this happened, and then in a few minutes we'll be bringing up Itai and Amuna, my co-founders, who will tell you a little bit more about how we came together and what we found when we interviewed hundreds of Israeli and Palestinian kids. So.
שלום, קוראים לי איתי פורמן ואני מבאר שבע. I'm the marketing director of Bandura Games.
مرحبا، اسمي أمونة وأنا من القدس. I'm director of customer development.
Our team at Bandura Games is a very unique team. We are a group of Israelis, Palestinians, and Americans.
We haven't forgotten what it's like to be kids. We've come together, we've bonded over our love of having fun and playing games. And we want to bring that same feeling of togetherness to the rest of the world. And so that's what Bandura Games is all about. It's about using games to bring people together. Real-time cooperative games to bring kids together from all over the world.
We want to build a game that can give the children the possibility to change their reality. We don't talk about political issues. We have our own perspective, like to put these kids, Israelis and Palestinians, together.
I found myself in my room, my bedroom in Beersheba, while there is siren going on, which means there are rockets falling in Beersheba. At that time, I was at a meeting with Bandura Games, my friends, some of them Palestinians, and we keep on working through Google Hangout and keep on developing a wonderful game.
Over the past year, Itai, Amuna, and I have worked together to design a game that can bring people together from around the world. People who would never otherwise have the opportunity to interact. In our first game, Runzu, you play an animal who's escaping captivity and trying to reach a faraway land where the animal kingdom lives together in peace and harmony. But you can't do it alone. You cannot make it by yourself. In order to beat each level, and in order to get one step closer to your goal, you have to work together. You have to partner with someone else in the world. Our game encourages cooperation by incentivizing people to share boosts, complete joint missions together, and save one another's lives. But most importantly, our game is fun. We've modeled Runzu after the endless runner genre of games, one of the most popular genres in the world, and where individual games have over 1 billion downloads. We believe that we can reach an audience of over 1 billion people too. But just as in our game Runzu, we can't do it by ourselves. We can't do it alone. We need your help. we need to partner with you. In order to take our game to the next level and to get one step closer to our vision of a world where people live together in peace and harmony, we need your generous contributions. We're asking that you please contribute to cooperation. Thanks.
Gandhi once said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." Well,
You're looking at it.
Thanks, guys. So, how did we come together? How did this happen? How did three people from totally different backgrounds from around the world, from really warring cultures, come together to try to use video games as the solution to global conflict? I grew up in Chicago, in the United States. My parents are American. I'm an American Jew, and I came to Israel for the first time in 2005 and fell in love. It was the first place where I felt fully comfortable expressing myself as a Jewish person, and I realized that there needs to be a place for everyone to feel free to express themselves, to be comfortable. And when I got to college, I was an undergrad at Stanford University, and when I got to college, Jewish and Muslim students hated each other. There was animosity in San Francisco, California, where everyone should be totally copacetic and chill between Jewish and Muslim people, and that was a huge problem for me. So I set out to create events, purely fun events, to bring Jewish and Muslim students together, and it was amazing. We were able to create relationships for people who would never otherwise have interacted, and these are relationships that last to this day. So when I graduated, I thought, all right, I want to find a way to scale this up. I want to bring these one-on-one interactions to people all over the world, people who aren't able to meet face-to-face. And what's the best way to do that? For me, it was through online video games. So I left my job as a management consultant and joined a Jewish Entrepreneurship Fellowship where I met Itai. I told Itai this crazy idea, we want to use games to bring people together. He had worked for gamer.co.il. Huge gamer, loved the idea, he was on board, and he remembered that his Palestinian friend Amuna, who he had met at a conference in Germany several years before, which they'll tell you more about in a few minutes, that Amuna also loved games, that she had just gotten back from Jordan, where she was doing a video game workshop. So the three of us started talking, we realized how much we love games, and that's what brought us together. Now, why games? We've been preaching games have this ability to bring people together. Why games? Other people have said, well, maybe social media is better. Maybe social media will bring the answer. Everyone's on social media. Why can't we get people interacting there? Well, the thing about social media is that it's actually not very social. We only interact with the people who are in our own social networks. We are able to unfriend people who we disagree with, and we only get news, we only get perspectives from our friends, the people who we already agree with. So this is a study done by a researcher on pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian hashtags, and where those people who were tweeting those hashtags, if they'd ever tweeted at each other, if they had ever interacted, or even if they'd ever seen one another's tweets. And as you can see from this graphic behind me, it's totally separate. Even though Israelis and Palestinians are all on social media, they're not interacting. So where are people interacting? Online games. I had read an article about a couple who had met playing World of Warcraft online. They fell in love. They'd never seen each other in person. They'd never seen their faces. They fell in love as avatars. They shot at each other and fell in love. Beautiful story. And I thought, okay, are there other examples of games bringing people together? And yes. Jeffrey Mogul is a researcher at McGill University in Canada. He brought total strangers into a room and had them play Rock Band. Rock Band is a game where you're playing together, you're on a band together. In 15 minutes, total strangers became friends. And just a few weeks ago, at the University of Aarhus in Denmark, they did a study where people played cooperative games, team-based games, and then they measured their heart rates, and their hearts started to beat as one when they were playing cooperative games together. So the power of games is amazing. And so we said, okay, we've done the research, we believe that games make a difference, now let's find out. Now let's actually talk to Israeli and Palestinian kids. So here's what we found. We found that something that was very surprising to us. We interviewed Israeli and Palestinian kids in East Jerusalem and in Ramallah, and we found that 85% of these Israeli and Palestinian kids had access to smartphones and tablets. Tablets, smartphones, Wi-Fi, ubiquitous for both Israelis and Palestinians. We found that despite living in a conflict region that everyone around the world thinks of as violent, 50% of the favorite games of these kids were non-violent. They love FIFA, Candy Crush, Subway Surfer, poker, Pool 8, 8-ball pool. They love non-violent games. It's not all about shooters. Though they did love GTA. And 80% of them, we built a cooperative board game version. 80% of them preferred our cooperative game to a competitive game. They wanted to play together. And in focus groups, they told us that they didn't want to just play with their friends in the classroom. They wanted to play with kids from all over the world. We also found that they play the same games on both sides. So we found this research ourselves, but this is research from 2 days ago from App Annie. These are the top 10 games on the iTunes store in Israel and in Jordan. 60% of the top 10 games are the same for Israelis and Jordanians. Israelis and Saudis, 50% of the top 10 games. Israeli children, Israeli youth, and Saudi youth are playing the exact same games, but they're not interacting yet on these games. We see this in India and Pakistan. 80% of games in India and Pakistan are the same games. These kids all over the world are playing the same games. And then we look at the United States, 30%. What we learned is that Israeli and Palestinian youth have more in common with each other than they do with kids growing up in the United States. And yet these are the kids who are at conflict. Kids in India and Pakistan have more in common with each other than they do with kids in the United States. This is 30%, not with US in each country, with all 5 of those countries, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, there's only 3 games that are overlapping in the top 10. So what we set out to do is prove to youth around the world, youth in conflict zones, that they actually have a lot more in common than they think, and prove that through the power of games. And so our story attracted some pretty amazing people. I pitched this to Randy Engel. He's a 35-year game industry veteran in San Francisco, former professor at Art Academy in San Francisco. And these are some of the games that he's worked on. Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Pac-Man for mobile. When we pitched him this idea, he immediately fell in love and joined the team. We come from a conflict resolution background. We are not video game experts, so we brought on the experts. And experts were inspired because of our story, because of what we were working to do. You heard at the end of the video, Itai say, Gandhi once said, be the change you want to see in the world. That has become our team's motto. If we want to bring kids across conflict zones, we need to come across conflict zones ourselves. It would be crazy if I were to sit in an office in San Francisco and try to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I needed to bring Itai and Amuna onto the team to give us credibility, so that not only would we have credibility, but we'd also have the knowledge of what it takes to bring people together, and we can encode that within our games. We've since grown to over 10 people. We're 40% women. We are Jewish, Muslim, and Christian. We are black, white, and brown. We are gay and straight. We are the change we want to see in the world. And it's more than just a beautiful story. It's more than just a marketing ploy. It's actually great business. When I was a management consultant in Washington, D.C., one of the companies that I was consulting for made helmets for helicopter pilots. They went out, they interviewed hundreds of helicopter pilots all over the United States to find out what they wanted on their helmets. These were the best engineers in the world building these helmets. They built computer vision, they built radar, they built Bluetooth into these helmets. These were the most sophisticated, high-tech helmets in the world. And when they delivered them to the pilots wouldn't wear them. Pilots refused to wear the helmets. Why? They were too heavy and hurt their necks. Now these engineers, they didn't have a pilot on their team. Had they had a pilot on their team, they would have known that. They would have built that into the design. So at Bandura Games, we realized we need to have the pilots on our team. We need to have Israelis and Palestinians on our team. We need to be 40% women. If the games industry, if the game players in the world, 50% of global game players are women, and 60% of mobile game players are women. So for our team, it's not just about telling this beautiful story, it's also about good game design. It's about incorporating things that people around the world will appreciate in the games. And so how has this resulted in good business? In just 10 days of an Indiegogo campaign, we hit our initial goal of $37,000. People from all over the world were inspired about our story. We got messages, we got contributions from Israel, the United States, Saudi Arabia, the Philippines, Hong Kong. I mean, all over the world we've been getting letters and notes of appreciation and excitement, and it's been beautiful. we've received, and here's the list of the people who've contributed, and here's a list of the press that we've gotten around the world. People are extremely excited about this idea. And the reason why I'm here, and Itai's here, and Amuna's here to talk to you today, is so that we can hopefully inspire you. We are all here in this room because we love games. Games have impacted our lives in a positive way somehow, and we're all in the industry. We're either making games or promoting games. There's so much more that we can do with games. There's so much more that we can show the world what it could be like if more people played games. And so I'm hoping that by sharing our story with you today, that when you go back to your office and you're planning on your next game or planning on a marketing campaign or thinking about partnering with a charity, there's so many things that you can do. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our story. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on the real stars of the show. Itai and Amuna, please come up. So we're going to turn it over to Q&A, but I guess I'll ask the first question and let Itai and Amuna share, you know, how games impacted your lives and how you two came together, because they met before I did. So who wants to go first?
Okay, so hello everybody. According to how we met, like as Justin has mentioned, that we met in Germany in a workshop for intercultural dialogue, and there we broke the iceberg. The first time I met with an Israeli guy, and to me it was a good experience, not because I met him, but the idea that how I broke the iceberg personally, it was in a mountain trip. When I fall, and it was like a top of a mountain, and it was really dangerous. Like, he was in front of me, he gave me his hand. From this point, I was thinking, no, we are human. Like, we can really give hand. So why not build something that can really give hands for others? So from here, when he told me that, Amuna, do you want to participate in a game? So I said, okay, but what the purpose of the game? So he told me the definition or what the term of that. So I was so excited because I was thinking, so he gave me the hand, now I have the opportunity to give the hand back for not for him and for Justin, but also for all of the people around the world.
My experience with gaming is go way long back. I was always a gamer. I think I started when I was 5-6 years old with old Commander Keen, and I grew up with games. And I always knew that through games we can connect with people. When I was about 14, 15, I joined a virtual community of gamer back in the days when it was really active. And I was a hardcore gamer, not so much fun run and nice stuff, more shooting games. Someone know Unreal Tournament? Okay. So I used to run the games and be in the community, very engaged. And some of my friends, they were snipers, they shot me in the head, and we became good friends later in LAN parties. You know, it happens in our community. So I knew that through games we can connect. And when I met Justin, and he told me about his brilliant idea to make a real connection of worldwide people together through co-op games, and he told me, now we need to look for a Palestinian partner. I immediately thought, okay, we have Amuna. She just came back from a gaming conference in Jordan, and it was like the moment where karma and everything just goes together in one big stream, and we jump all together on board. Thanks.
Okay, really interesting story. So now we have around 5 minutes, around 5 minutes for Q&A. So anyone have questions? Okay. Please introduce yourself first, okay?
Hello guys, I'm Sean from Scotland. First and foremost, very amazing thing that you guys are doing, great concept. I've even put some money of it into myself on your crowdfunding, so one of 200 and something. A quick question, especially because you guys are aiming towards the younger markets to kind of break down that barrier. How do you plan on regulating the interactivity and the user profiling? Because in a world that we are in now, it's quite dangerous, and you have to make sure that children's safety comes first. So how do you plan on executing that?
So a big part of the game is developing a relationship during the course of the gameplay, which is anonymous. And only after you finish the game do you then find out who your partner was, where they've been playing from, and you see your overlapping likes and interests. And you're able to add them as a friend, and it's strictly within the game. So you're not able to add them as a friend outside of the game on Facebook. And then Randy, who's our Chief Creative Officer, he's built a number of chat platforms before, and he's very aware around the security around chat platforms. And so we're building an emoticon-based chat, and figuring out ways to make sure that it's positive and productive while still conveying enough emotion that people are able to really develop a meaningful connection. So we're doing everything that we can to keep it safe. We're going to be building avatars as opposed to using faces for people under the age of 13, so that we really can get as many people playing as possible and not limit it to 13 plus.
Okay, so another question.
Do you get any feedback from children who are playing the game that it has changed their perspective?
Well, before we start to create a game, we handle surveys. As Justin said, in Ramallah, in Jerusalem, and in Beersheba as well. And we get feedback. We ask kids what they like to play, what they would like to see. And we gave them the board game of Temple Run, and they played it, single player, and then co-op with another player. Based on their comments, we started to create a game. And 2 days ago, right? 2 days ago, we went to Beersheba with the real game. It's not yet on the new movie, it's now under progress, but the kids actually played the game, and we had a 2-hour session in a circle, and we get lots of comments from them and feedback. And everybody preferred the co-op over the single player. So we always encourage the children.
I want to add, yesterday I was at a school in Haifa, a high school in Haifa. I gave this exact presentation. And the kid, first of all, this is like a rowdy class of kids that never pay attention to their teacher. They were dead silent, and when we showed them that overlapping data, when they saw that they played the same games as kids their age in Saudi Arabia, I've never seen eyes so wide. It was hilarious. They're like, oh yeah, I love that game. Wait, Saudi Arabia, what? And so, even just showing the data to people has been an amazing experience. The kids couldn't believe that. So when they play the game and they end up actually seeing someone from Saudi Arabia and seeing that they both like vanilla ice cream and Kanye West, they're going to be like, oh my god, this is crazy. So we've seen the beginnings of the ability to break down barriers, and once we launch in a couple of weeks, which is why we had this campaign to get the game out there, to finish the graphics, to add new features, we're pretty excited about what we're going to find.
Okay, and one last question. One last. Any question? Yes.
Question. Inside your game, when do you integrate socially, like this revelation of what country your helper is, and what call to action are you adding there, like to enable these two players to continue communication forward, or any other call to action?
So the game is super social. During the course of the gameplay, they're cooperating. Only after they've reached a critical level of cooperation do they then find out. So if the gameplay doesn't go well and they don't cooperate, they're going to see a different screen. They're not going to go to the screen that shows them where the person's from, so they don't end up hating the person who screwed up the gameplay. Only after they've reached that level do they then find out. They see their profile picture, they see the overlapping likes and interests, and they see the country. And from there, there's rewards, there's incentives to add that person as a friend and to continue playing. So the reward structure, the incentive structure in the game is to repeat gameplay with the same people, help them through, help them further, and based on how many people you're able to help and develop relationships with, you're able to get more rewards and unlock more accessories.
Okay, thanks. Let's create some noise and thank for the great presentation. Yes, everyone liked this. So guys, that's a good sign. Okay, so we have a short technical break.